Welcome to 6-5 using the percent proportion. We have one objective today, that is to use the percent proportion to solve problems, in particular percent problems. We have three basic key terms all in one definition. We're going to be using the percent proportion. One of the numbers, called the part, is being compared to the whole quantity, called the base. The other ratio is the percent written as a fraction whose base is 10. Here's what it looks like. What we have here is a ratio of the part over the base, and then we have another ratio, which is the percent over 100. Since they're proportions, they're equal to each other, and that's what basic formula we're going to be using to solve our problems today. On this slide you can see the key concept, the percent proportion. We have part over base is equal to percent over whole. And we're going to use that in three different situations where we're going to find the part, the base, and the percent. We're going to have several problems to demonstrate this, so let's get going. All right, on this slide, our first problem is 5 is what percent of 8? What we do know from the beginning is that we're trying to find the percent. So let's set this up. You can see I've written the formula. Part over base is equal to n, or the percent, over 100. All right, I want to go over two key terms. First is the word is, and that's associated with the part. The other key word is of, and that's associated with the base. That's going to help us to put the numbers that are given to us in their proper place. So let's look at 5. 5 is. So I know that 5 is part of is, so it goes on top. Is what percent of 8? There's that key word of, and I know that that goes on the bottom. It's asking us to find what percent, so I'm going to keep that n there. And we're always going to have it over 100 because percent is based on hundreds. Then we're going to use some of the things that we've learned in previous lessons. We're going to use cross product, multiply, and multiply. This is going to give us a equation of 8n is equal to 500. Go ahead and divide both sides by 8 to get n all by itself. And when we take our calculator out and divide 500 by 8, we now know n is equal to 62.5. Because we're looking for the percent, we're going to add this to our answer because we're looking for the percentage, and to recognize that we'll use that symbol. On this slide we have what percent of 4 is 7. We're looking for the percent again, but we're going to break down the formula one more time into its pieces. All right, I've written the formula again with the key terms. Is over of is equal to percent over 100. Well, let's see here. What percent of 4 is 7? So we got of 4, so that means that's the base. Is 7, and that's the part. What percent? That means we're going to change that to a variable because we don't know what it is, and we'll always have 100 with the percent. We're going to go ahead and cross multiply. I'm going to start off with 4 times n is 4n. Include the equal sign between the two, and then of course I'll do 7 times 100, 700. I'm going to go ahead and divide both sides by 4 to isolate the n, and whatever I do on one side I do to the other. I now have n is equal to, take out my calculator, 700 divided by 4, 175. Let's go back and check the question. It says what percent, so we're looking for the percentage, so I'll add the percent sign, and so n is equal to 175%. All right, before we continue any further, let's just review the concepts, what we're doing today with our percent proportions. You're going to see three types of problems. You're going to see find the percent. We did that one. We written two different ways, but this way is 3 is what percent of 4. So that means we're looking for the number above the 100. Then we're going to ask to find the part here, and it'll say something like this: what number is? And remember, is that special word that goes for part. It means we're going to find A, and then find the base. Once again, base is connected to that keyword of, and you can see the example here is 3 is 75% of what number. So because of, I know we're going to be looking for the base. Let's do a couple more problems. One to find the part and one to find the base. All right, let's look at this problem. What number is 5.5% of 650? All right, remember in the formula, what number is, so that means we don't know what the part is 5.5% of 650. That means 650 is the base that goes on the bottom. We'll come back and build the other side. We now know in this slide that we have 5.5%. Go ahead and write 5.5. Drop the percent sign. And remember, we always put percents over 100. Now we'll go back to what we learned about solving proportions. Go ahead and do the cross product. I'll do 100 times n. I get 100 n. Bring down the equal sign. Then I'll do 5.5 times 650. Taking the calculator out, I get 3,575. Now I took my proportion and I made it look like an equation, and I'm just going to isolate the n. So that means I'm going to divide both sides by 100. Because there's multiplication here, 100 times n, the division cancels that out. Whatever I do on one side, I do to the other. I find that when I take my calculator and divide 3,575 by 100, I get 35.75. We are not looking for the percent, as you can see here. We're looking for the part. So there's no need to put a percent sign. So our answer right now is n is equal to 35.75. And the directions don't ask for any rounding, so I'm going to leave it the way it is. All right, let's look at this slide. We have 52 is 40% of what number? All right, so know that we're looking for our keywords is and of. I find that 52 is next to the word is, so that means it's the part. 40% of what number? That means I don't know what the base is, so I'll put an n there to represent a variable. And then we're going to write the other side of our proportion. I know that I have 40%, so I'll drop the 40. And all percents are over 100. Then go ahead and cross multiply to get this to look like an equation that we can work with. The first thing I'm going to do is multiply 40 times n and get 40n. Bring down the equal sign. Multiply both sides, the next side, by 52 and 100, 5,200. Now go ahead and divide 40 by 40 to isolate the n, and whatever I do on one side I do to the other. So I have n isolated. I take out my calculator and I find that 5,200 divided by 40 is 130. We look at the problem. Once again, I'm not looking for percent. I'm looking for the base, so that means I'll leave the number the way it is and no need to round.